Good morning from Yummy B TV. Good afternoon from Yummy B TV. I've got some problem with my rotating the camera at the moment, so I've had to do this the other way around to see if it comes out. But sending loads of love to you and hoping your weekend is going the best it possibly can. Now we're back to Channel 4's Banged Up programme again, because many of you messaging and commenting and asking me about my opinion about the characters. Is it realistic to a real prison environment? How would they have fared in the real world of the jungle? And the man we're talking about today is Peter Hitchens. Now, he's the Conservative MP. Now, the comment that seems to be bothering quite a few of you is that he suggests or says that addicts, it's their decision, it's their responsibility, it's their choice to take drugs. Okay, I'll put in the description the Billie Holiday song, Good Morning Heartache. Now, I believe that in active addiction, though, we still have a choice to make whether we use or not, especially we're talking specifically if we're talking about dependency on this one, that one, and that kind of drug. And basically in the song, she describes Good Morning Heartache. But what she's saying is she's vulnerable and she's insecure. And she's, finding no way out of the addiction problems that she is suffering at the time. She feels like a prisoner to the drugs and that kind of stuff. Do we have a choice when it feels like that? Do we? We have some kind of choice, but sometimes when it's dependent, it's easier said than done. Now, what I would agree with is if you were clean and you were saying that, well, we've got choices, you know what it does, you've been there before, because you're in a better state of mind to be making a choice. Our whole lives are made up of decisions and choices, and the acting and reacting on impulses and old behaviours, etc., etc. So the comment that is very abrupt, and it wouldn't be the first time that he has actually come out and said something like this. I believe he said it about Matthew Perry as well, rest in peace there as well. I wonder if he feels like he had a choice. I mean, that kind of way. But in the grand scheme of things, you've got to say that he might be protecting himself. He doesn't want to get into all that emotional baggage of what, because it's fair to say, comparisons with Jeffrey Archer does feel a little bit more superior than the rest. Maybe it's to do with his job and the way that he's lived his life. And both of them, Jeffrey Archer and Hitchens, remind me of people that when telling them that they might be wrong, they don't really listen, or they might find some excuse for it. But we've only seen little bits at small periods of time. So is he abrupt in a normal way of life every single day? Well, physical appearances, if you look at him, not being judgmental, of course, but say from my point of view, if I saw him in the categories, I'd look, I think I know he's a bit abrupt, he's a bit stuck up his own backside. If it is that, first readings, that I would say you're not going to go and get the right answer there if you're feeling vulnerable. It doesn't seem like he's sympathetic to other people's plights in that way. Look, but on the other side of the coin, he's shown great sides of character before, very kind side, a youngster of Muslim background, was meant to have been a bit of an angry kid who couldn't read or write. Peter Hitchens, in fact, taught him how to read and write, and his life has changed into what it was. Maybe Peter Hitchens noticed something in the youngster that he was angry, and maybe it was because he believed, it might be because he can't read and write and he gets very frustrated, so he might have cured it by that. Or just a kind man in general, maybe he helps a lot of people, but in different ways as into how he comes across, as portrayed up there. Look, realistically, the difference between him and Jeffrey Archer was that Jeffrey Archer seemed to, as much as, superiority, the way that I am, I've got all the answers. Okay, fair enough. But he did come across as if you went there with a vulnerable problem and you was feeling insecure and you wanted some advice in a prison environment, Jeffrey Archer would spend a little time with you and make you feel a bit better about yourself, maybe, as you leave him, rather than say, well, it's your choice, it's your choice. Because sometimes the answers that we are looking for to reinforce positivity, we go to someone, and maybe when it's dished out in the way that Peter dishes it out, it's not going to be too endearing to the crowd. It's the easiest thing in the world that whether you agree or you don't agree, if someone walks up to you and asks you a question, it doesn't take much to say, look, just stay strong, I'll give you that advice and this or that, whatever you do. Or you're going to be abrupt like many, like Peter Peter, who said, look, your choice, mate, you've got to learn to, so you're not going to really go there and expect. You probably got the answer in yourself of what you're really looking for. Maybe it's a question that you're just asking for reinforcement and moral support and blah, blah, blah. At that time, well, then he would be the wrong person to go to. If you're looking at that kind of stuff, if you get what I mean. Jeffrey Archer, slightly different. Jeffrey Archer carries on. Do I believe that Peter Hitchens could have survived in a prison environment with a character like that? No, I don't. I think he would have got weighed in. I think he would have got his head kicked in at some stage. Because the superiority you bring from another job, and if you've never been to prison before, to carry on the same way in the jungle where most people are ultimately different from the life that you've led. You've got to have a few survival skills as well in how to talk to people and address yourself, because you can't be hated too much in those places, because some people ain't got nothing better to do than, start harming you, making your life difficult, don't like you as a person. So all these features, he hasn't been in that real environment before. Jeffrey Archer has, and carried himself, it's got to be said, in a way that, though he was from where he was coming from, he seemed to be able to adapt, to be able to find the answers to certain situations. I haven't seen that apparent in Peter Hitchens yet with his character. So like I said, it could be the protecting of himself in general. I'd also suggest that when people get programs such as this, get people to act out certain scenes where we want to send a message out, the bullying, the bracelet, whatever it is. As much as you could have been to prison before, you might not have done the thing that you're acting out. It's always best to get the people. I always believe you're always better once you've felt what you're acting about or what you're talking about, because it becomes more authentic and more realistic by then. Even if you've been to prison and you haven't robbed someone's chain, or you haven't done this bit and that bit and that bit, you've seen others do it, so you've got some kind of into how they might be feeling it. But nothing is ever better, I believe, by way of experiences when you're talking about stuff. It's like a psychologist who's never been involved in criminal psychology. She never actually lived in there to experience the emotions, but she understands the psychology, human behaviour, crimes, etc., etc. But to give a valid opinion and get the opinion from the so-called, big B experts, it would always be better coming from somebody who's lived those experiences, felt those experiences, thought those, see the victims, see how they felt, how they reacted, how did you feel about this, it's a simple thing, maths like that. But do I really believe that Peter Hitchens could have been such a character and survived in the Cates? No, I don't.